On dark, pre-dawn streets, illuminate the lights of those whose lives depend on hard work.
How many days a week are you doing this?
5.
5 days a week?
Yeah.
It's early. Every time this time of morning? Early starts?
Yeah, no, I've been here since about 4:20.
Liz Wright is 65 years old. She has known tough times before.
You always worked?
Yeah, I need to bring money in.
But nothing quite like this, where her bills are too big to bear, her wage as a cleaner barely buying the basics.
Toilet rolls once a month. The next month it'll be the soap powder, and the next month it'll be the coffee, where once upon a time you just went out and bought.
On good weeks, Liz gets the bus into work. On bad weeks, she has to walk, unable to afford the daily £4 fare.
Now you're cutting your cloth again, aren't you? To make sure you've got what you need and not what you want.
Today, she has the money, but the good weeks occur less often now. We meet Liz after her shift. The big worry, keeping her awake at night, is her new energy bill, which has just doubled.
You go in your account and it's £253 the one of a month.
Can you afford that?
Where am I going? Well, I can't know. I've never been in debt I've never had any worries with me. Any bill.
Are you worried about any of this?
Yeah, really worried. Yeah. I don't want to burden my family. My daughter comes once a fortnight for something to eat, and she has to bring the food.
What change have you already made to try and cut back?
I've changed everything. I don't use my cooker very often. I don't have a toaster because I always used mine. So it's a luxury to have a piece of toast.
Really?
Really. Is it food banks next? Will I be able to keep the house?
Did you ever think you'd be in that position?
No, never. Never in this position. And I'm going to have to explain I've got no money and I can't live. That's not free.
I'll give you a second.
Thanks.
This is the Meadowell estate in North Shields. We've spent time here meeting people who've lived here all their lives and some whose lives are just beginning. Fauna was born 8 weeks ago, cradled by doting dad Joseph, his first child.
I know.
He and his girlfriend knew money would be tight, but just as their daughter arrived, a chronic pain condition forced Joseph to give up his job.
How tight has the money situation been for you guys?
It's been pretty hard. You run out of money to try and get the formulas and stuff like that you need, especially when you're on universal credit.
But that's not all. They moved into this flat 4 weeks ago to find the gas supply switched off. The previous tenant had stopped paying their bills.
So that's just freezing.
Yeah, no gas means no hot water, no heating.
The supplier won't turn it back on, new suppliers aren't taking on new customers, and this family are enduring the consequences.
We have to keep her wrapped up with her thick blanket just to try and keep her from not having a face cold and stuff. It just gets to a point where you don't know what to do anymore.
All they have is this electric heater donated by family.
This little thing here?
Yeah, we have to put it in whichever room that the baby's in just to keep her warm.
And this, I take it, isn't cheap?
Not that.
But it's also, what can that do for an entire flat?
And then there's the lack of any hot water.
Ice cold.
So what are you doing with the baby, to bathe the baby?
And we have to go up to my partner's mum's.
How far away is your mother-in-law's?
Probably about, walk-wise, 45 minutes to an hour. It's £4.70 each, just to get the bus fare, which when you're on strict money, it's really hard, especially if you're doing it, if you have to constantly go up, just to, be able to keep your daughter clean.
Right.
More children are growing up in poverty in the northeast than anywhere else in England. The current economic crisis threatens to make it worse, hitting families who usually manage.
Your first number for your line, here again. 60, line 16.
For more than a century, generations of the Meadowell community have gathered at this club to sup its pints and play its games. Tradition surviving against the odds. But the odds right now feel stacked against people here.
Yeah, weekly shopping is just a joke.
Really?
Now. I'm not like putting pennies here and pennies here. It's like 10 pences and 20 pences, you know, and it all adds up.
A couple of bob I'm saving, what I saved I'm spending now to survive.
86-year-old Bob Costello was born and raised in North Shields. He comes here less and less now. His budget simply won't stretch.
Come for this 1 day a week. Yeah. It's only one afternoon.
This is your treat?
This is my treat.
Yeah.
A blackcurrant. That's what I drink.
So a pint of blackcurrant and
blackcurrant,
a bit of warm here.
And a bit warm comfort. This is 90% of people will need help, but there's a lot not ask for it in this part of the country because they're so proud. Someone would rather starve.
1 and 3, 13.
We were invited here by Michael. We met him at the local Cedarwood Trust Community Centre, where he works as a full-time cook, making low-cost meals for struggling families. Struggles he's not immune to.
How much do you put on the lecky this week? 40. She puts £40 on this week.
And that'll last a week?
Uh-huh.
Energy costs are swallowing up Michael's wages. He's on a pay-as-you-go or prepayment meter.
£48.83. So that's going to last you just over a week?
Yep.
And before that would last you longer?
Over 2 weeks it would have.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Which is more expensive than receiving a monthly bill.
40 on the gas and 40 on the leggy.
Yeah.
Right, that's £80. So that's 160, that's £320 a month.
Bloody hell.
Some of my friends, they're on rock bottom, and then they come to Cedarwood Trust and we can help them a little bit. And it's only going to get worse, isn't it? When I was younger, it was like, we used to have a coat on my bed to keep yourself warm. Everybody would be able to relate to that. You have a big, thick blanket on it. And that's what it might end up being like, because you can't put your electricity and you can't keep your gas going. One for gas and one for electricity. Right, can you put us 20 on each, please?
20 on each.
Yeah.
People spending more on bills means less is spent elsewhere in this community. There's 4 shops on this estate. Shaka has owned his for 30 years, but it's quieter now, and the price of his stock is becoming unaffordable.
Before I was spending £10,000, now I'm spending about £16,000 because of the price.
Do you worry about your business here? Do you worry?
Yeah, of course. If it carries on like that, I think possibility it might not cover itself end of the day.
You might close?
Yeah, we will shut it. We'll definitely shut it.
How do you feel about that?
Ooh, sad.
Getting emotional? So you love this community, that this is your home.
Yeah.
You're right, Shaka.
Yeah.
My grandma started it in 1952 with my granda. I came on board in 1983 when I started.
2 doors down from Shaka is Holt Butchers, a North Shields institution. Neil was born above this shop.
It's reached a point where it's not worth carrying on.
But he's decided to call it a day.
It's heartbreaking to think that something that my granny started could cease. My bill's going to double next month from about £30,000 for the 4 shops to over 70. It carries a big burden in my heart, and I've had a few sleepless nights over it. But it's definitely it could be the end of an era.
The knock-on effect of this economic crisis is being felt across this community. Back at the Cedarwood Trust, they run a shop selling discounted food, and they've noticed a change in the families turning up.
At the start, we saw a lot of people who were pensioners and on benefits. That has totally swung the other way. 50% of those people are people in work. It's in work poverty. We've got people who are on 16 hours a week work, on paramedics, teachers, people who are frontline.
Paramedics and teachers use this.
Absolutely. And there's no slack in them budgets to pick up any of the extra costs.
It's hard to overstate just how scared some people are right now. That fear of simply not knowing where the money's going to come from to pay for the bills, to pay for the food that they need. And I think it's also the fear that this could just be the start, that it could get much worse than this.
I worry about energy prices, fuel prices, cost of living. It's just, I've never felt this anxious or this scared about the future ever.
Lindsay works full-time. She has 2 children, a teenage boy and 4-year-old Jasmine.
Oh wow, these are my gingerbread men. Thank you very much. Did you bake these? They look amazing. Can I eat them?
Yeah.
Should I eat them?
If you want.
If I want.
But it's just pretend.
Lindsay has worked hard to provide, but she worries it could be taken away. They rent from a private landlord, but as mortgage rates rise, there may not be the money to meet it.
I'm just waiting for that letter to come through the door to say, I'm sorry, Lindsay, we're going to have to increase your rent. And if that happens, then I just don't know. What else can I do that I'm not doing now? It's either I eat, my children eat, and we're cold, or we stay warm and have bumbling bellies. Like, I don't want to have to make that choice. It's scary.
It's something the GP surgery here has noticed too.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi there. It's having an impact on people who haven't previously struggled. I had a patient the other week who started them on some antidepressants and was a review appointment to see how they'd got on, and they hadn't been able to afford to pick them up because they literally hadn't been able to afford the prescription charge.
And are you worried about the long-term impact all of this has?
Yeah, definitely. I think some of these problems are they're going to last for generations, which is a real concern. You know, we know that parental mental health problems have an impact on children. We know that actually, you know, if you've had a family member commit suicide, your risk of it is much higher.
Back on the estate, we meet Sam. He's on universal credit, but the money he's receiving isn't keeping up with his bills.
And this figure here, that's basically what you're living on.
Yeah, that's what I'm living on at the moment.
He receives £324 a month. He's in rent arrears and is facing the prospect of eviction.
I'm struggling as it is. I can't afford to struggle more than I am now. That would just be unthinkable. You know, sometimes you don't even know what your action will be.
And Sam is nervous of reports the government may make a real terms cut to benefits next year.
How would you feel if the government were to do that?
That would be catastrophic because they don't really know what is going on. Cutting it back would really send people to the tip, you know, it tip people over.
Some in this community are doing their best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Just me, John.
In his spare time, Michael delivers meals to people he knows are going without.
Put them over here, John.
Those without a lot giving to others what little they have left. But how many others will go short in the long winter ahead?